Hello everyone, welcome to the Richest Men in Town podcast. I'm Mike Freeman, and along with my good friend and co-host Tyler Goold, we're excited to welcome you to our little podcast project. Tyler and I are just a couple of middle-aged husbands and dads driven to live our best lives. We want to be better every day, so here we'll be sitting down with great people. Not famous people, but great people that we admire, to learn their secret to living the rich life. Probably not the rich life you're thinking of. Our guests come in humbled and surprised at the invitation and hopefully leave feeling proud and grateful, realizing just how good they really have it. So pull up a chair, stay a while, and raise a glass with us as we toast our guests to the richest men in town.
All right, Thursday night, we're together and we have Brian Grow with us. We're not even kicking the doors in, man. Brian, it's like the doors were open, he wandered in, here we are, right?
Everything's right in the world.
I have a spare key. I can come and go as I please, like Urkel.
That's true. We left it under the mat, and it is what it is, man. So,
I was thinking Kramer. How Kramer just comes in. You know?
Kramer.
Urkel is something I haven't really thought of in a long, long time.
Yeah.
Oh man, everybody loves a little Urkel.
You know what?
What happened to that guy?
What did happen to that guy?
We'll look it up.
Yeah. That's going to be in the show notes.
Man, show notes guy is you're giving the show notes guy homework right out of the gate.
He's done some TV. I really like a show called Psych, and he's been in a few episodes.
Oh, okay.
So he's still kicking around, still doing his thing. Not so Urkel-y, but who was it was Stefan when he made that machine that made him like all suave and confident, right? Stefan. So I think he's blossomed. Kids call it a glow up. He's a glow up.
Yeah, so that was like the alter ego. Stefan was the alter ego of Urkel. Oh man.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You lost me a glow up. You lost me a glow up. What is glow up? Please. So it's interesting. My son, right? My son is writing emails, and I got my mom emailed him and it's like, I need a decoder ring for your emails.
I did make a comment about his email the other day to my wife.
Because I don't know what low key means. I don't know what clutch means. I don't know.
You got to be dialed in.
My mom doesn't.
You know what clutch means.
Oh no, I know.
From sports context, you know what clutch means.
My mom doesn't know those things, but I know those things. But talk to me about glow up. What is that?
Brian?
Okay, so a glow up is when somebody goes, it's kind of like an ugly duckling, right? So at first it's like, meh. And then after a few years, it's kind of like the girl that you would see at like over the summer. And as you were kids, like it was like, whatever, we're just friends. And then one summer she comes back and you're all like, whoa.
Oh, okay. Yeah. My daughter's watching The Summer I Turned Pretty.
Okay. So yes. Yep.
Got it. Same kind of concept.
A glow up is you kind of blend it in, and then all of a sudden you're getting attention. They had a glow up. They are attractive now. They've come into their own. Nobody thought much was going to come out there, but they have. Yeah, it's a glow up.
We had some internet. Maybe we had a solar flare or something. We had some internet choppiness right there.
Oh no.
Yep, it's still going.
Oh gosh.
You're smooth. Do we want to nail this glow up thing down? Basically, I think you just described my life last week. Right? Tyler's still waiting for his glow up period.
I'm 48. I'm still working. I'm hoping. Yeah. Like, come on, man. Come on.
The silver fox is what you got to go for now. I think that's the next fox. That's the next place the next milestone.
Oh, the silver fox.
Hey, let me throw something at you guys. All right. So I was having a conversation with my daughter who is serving a mission in the Utah Salt Lake City West mission. Right.
Awesome.
And she said to me,
shout out to Tooele.
Shout out to Tooele. That's her stomping grounds right now. We've got some guests that are from Tooele. So if you run into Sister Goold, give her a hug for me because I can't. But but she was saying that she's doing a 40-day fast. And I was like, whoa, this is intense. Tell me about this thing because I want to know about it. So basically the gist is that she fasts for a day, right? A full fast. And in that day, they are considering the things that they want to change, improve, delete from their lives, adopt into their lives. And for 40 days, they work on that, on whatever that list looks like. So I'm kind of into that idea. I'm sort of feeling it. I want to give it a ride.
I would like to do this.
I would too. So, I mean, if you guys are in,
and almost like some solidarity to like support Sister Goold and the amazing elders and sisters,
I like that idea
in her mission. Like, I kind of dig that idea, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, if they haven't caught on yet, Mike Freeman struggles seeing things through from day 1 to day 40. Right. But if I had a couple of boys going with me doing it, then maybe, just maybe, we could do some cool things. But it starts with the fast. So there's a spiritual component.
There's a spiritual component.
Even identifying what it is you're going to be working on. Almost like a what lack I yet, right?
I like that. Yeah. Yeah.
And here's what I really like about it too is, you say that, but I sometimes when I'm like, I need to change something, I think, oh man, I have to do this for the rest of my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so having a 40-day thing saying, hey, I'm going to think about this for 40 days. I'm going to have this as something that I'm writing about constantly. You can do some journaling along with it. You can do some meditation time, when you have that in the recesses of your mind starts working on something, and being able to take a 40-day bite-sized piece going, this is what I'm going to think about. And then through that 40 days, you probably find something else that says, oh, this would allow me to push it for the next 40-day fast that I do. So I think that. Yeah, I think that's really nice.
Yeah, well, that'll be the lens. You'll pick up your scriptures. You start reading your scriptures through that lens, and you're going to start to see some things popping off the page that you haven't seen. You read your patriarchal blessing, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, hey.
I like that, Mike. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that part of it, but yeah, because I think there's some things, at least as I've been thinking about this, and Mike, I'm with you 100%, because had I had the willpower and the ability to do this on my own, I would have already started, but I needed to pose it to you guys to get some buy-in, some group buy-in. But there was I was kind of maybe pre-building or thinking about what that list looks like. And I'm like, man, there's a lot of things that are in my life that are good and they're fine, but they're not necessary. And quite frankly, they're probably time wasters. And if I got rid of some of those things for 40 days, just to evaluate what my life looks like minus those things, I'm kind of digging that idea.
Is there guidance coming from Sister Goold on the target? Because I'm thinking, is it one thing? Is it a couple things? Is it a list of things? Because if you start getting into a list of things, then I'm like, uh-oh. That sounds like every self-improvement effort I've ever tried right there.
Rolled into one shot. Do it all in one shot.
40 days, 40 things. Here we go. 3 days in, like, screw this. Whose idea was this?
Goes to the elephant graveyard.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It certainly wasn't a 40 days, 40 things kind of a thing for sure. I definitely got the impression that she was going to be working on a handful of things. And a lot of those things that she talked to me about were like improving her personal study, right? Like to take a specific topic and to work through that topic for a time to create a greater understanding of that topic, right?
See, I'm kind of geeking out right now about this idea of maybe that children and youth Foursquare.
100%.
Looking at the development of Christ and as he grew up across those different realms of his life, like that could be kind of cool to be like, all right, how about a physical? How about an intellectual? How about a spiritual? How about a social or relational? That could be kind of fun.
I like that. I like that a lot.
I'm going to run with that.
Okay. All right.
Now we've got Fast Sunday. At least here in Cali.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Timing
Sunday.
Perfect. Come on.
Perfect.
Let's go. I'm going to adopt, Mike. I'm going to take your idea of the 4 and I'm going to run with that as well.
I'm on board.
Okay.
I'm starting it. Yeah, we'll do some follow-up too.
Okay,
Brian Grow, you're in.
do it.
You're in.
I'm in.
You're in. Okay.
Tell
100%.
Abby Gould her
Yeah, I'm
idea
gonna tell-
is taking root.
We have launched it into the airwaves now.
Yeah.
There
we
could be,
we invite everyone.
yes, there are 3 of us doing it. There could be up to 7 if everyone that listens to this show participates.
And some people might be like, what is Fast Sunday? Hey, if that's a foreign language to you, the idea is, I think everyone's familiar with the idea of a fast. The fast can be kind of a spiritual override of the body, right? Telling the body who's boss. And that idea could put you in a good mindset to be able to say, all right, what do I want to work on? So
yeah. I like it.
I'm in.
I'm in as well. So
it's interesting because my daughter also texted me. So she's got a class that's kind of blowing her mind right now.
Okay. I like
semester
that.
starts up, right? And she has this assignment. She texts me and Kelly's like, okay, I need strengths and weaknesses. Like I'm doing work. What are some strengths? What are some weaknesses? Well, we who know her probably better than she knows herself, right? We dump in all kinds of strengths and 4-to-1 ratio, bunch of strengths.
Good.
Here's a couple of things. Here's a couple of things you might want to work on. She's very intolerant of stupid people.
Okay.
That's a weakness. Maybe, or it could be a strength, right? So I can see she's done some follow-up. She comes back with, okay, I've got some plans to address some of these weaknesses that you shared. And then she literally says this: how do I overcome my weakness of not dealing with stupidity or fake people? Possible solution: become dumb and fake like the rest of the group to fit in.
That's an angle I hadn't even considered.
hey, you want to know where that is a strength? Dating. She's in that dating pool. That is a strength. That is a godsend. She's not going to fall for the fake,
Oh, I actually love the idea of raising a young woman who the young man has to step up their game to approach. I love that. I love that thought. I don't know if we've accomplished that, but that was definitely some of the thinking. But immediately Kelly and I both jump on the text string like, whoa. No, that's not it. Never fit in. Fit in is not the answer. Literally, Kelly texts have charity. I text a screenshot of Moroni 7:48. Basically, pray with all the energy of your heart to have the love of Jesus Christ, so you can see people as they see them, and it will help you with tolerating, not.
Yeah, and if she could dial that thing in at her age, because look, I mean, I confess at that age, my tolerance level was probably at an all-time low. It has grown over time, and so it's a lot better.
I'm just thinking, my daughter, like, dad can be kind of stupid sometimes. So like, the very idea of, I can come across like pretty sophomoric, like, hey, this feels like dad's having a maturity challenge right now. I just wonder what she's feeling as dad exhibits some of these behaviors. Like,
it's funny that you said that, because I just had this vision of a lot of the Gould Freeman get-togethers, and I'm thinking like, she certainly was intolerant of Tyler.
But there's a different connection there. It's really interesting, the point you made, or that Grace made about the fitting in bit. Like I had some notes that I had written down about things that had just been going on in my head. And one of the things that I don't think I've ever been on your guys' podcast without mentioning Brene Brown. But here's another Brene Brown.
Oh, Brene Brown, Atlas of the Heart. Buy it now.
So good. Okay. Good stuff.
So good.
So she says this: the opposite of belonging is fitting in. She says being part of something bigger, but also having the courage to stand alone and to belong to yourself above all else. I think
that
that's
one more time,
huge.
Brian. The opposite of belonging. Read that one more time.
The opposite of belonging is fitting in. That is just taking like becoming stupid myself, becoming what everybody else is, because I don't want to be the one, the sore thumb sticking out like a sore thumb in this group. I don't want to be the one that draws people's attention and they start making judgments about me or treating me a certain way or talking about me a certain way. Then being part of, then it continues, being part of something bigger, but also having the courage to stand alone and to belong to yourself above all else. I think that's huge. And I think as you started this conversation about this 40-day fast, I think one of the big topics that I came into tonight thinking about and pondering on was just the idea of confidence, the idea of a rich man being confident. And if we go back to the namesake of George Bailey, and we think about the confidence that he had of what was right, because it would have been really easy to fit in. Everybody is going off. Sam Wainwright is going off and making money and doing all the things that he wants to do. Why shouldn't I be able to do the same thing? If George Bailey took that opportunity and said, oh, I'm just going to fit in. Everybody in the world is going off and seeking fame and fortune and travel and experiences and all these things, you know, he would have missed out on some pretty incredible things, I think, some pretty rich things. And as we are able to have the confidence to be able to go, you know, I know what's right and I'm going to do that no matter what. That's a pretty powerful thing. And I think it starts in areas like a 40-day fast. I think that's where you start to build the confidence, because you belong to yourself. The only way you do that is to spend time with yourself and to figure some of those things out. And I think a 40-day fast is huge in that.
Oh, so this lines up with some things that I've been studying out too. So I've been trying to cram, honestly. We are in preparation as members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. 2 times a year, we have General Conference. Beginning of October is an opportunity for us to have we get to sit down basically and listen to leaders across the world and as they share messages with us. And so I've been trying to read up and wear out the messages from the last General Conference. And I really got lost in Elder Deepak Christofferson's One in Christ. And he shares this, kind of going off of what Brian just shared, this idea that if one man lives the gospel of peace, he has peace within himself, right? Or as Brene said, belong to yourself. Mm-hmm. If 2 men live it, they each have peace within themselves and with each other. If the citizens live it, the nation has domestic peace. When there are enough nations enjoying the fruit of the Spirit to control world affairs, then and only then will the war drums throb no longer and the battle flags be furled. And that's President Marion G. Romney way back. But I love that idea. If I'm at peace with myself, if I belong to myself and I interact with other people, I might be a change agent to actually help. And I'm not saying, Mike Freeman went on and said, being at peace with myself is going to create world peace, but there is that power to be an influence, a peaceful influence around us. And that would be that message of Jesus Christ, right? Saying, if you're not one, you're not mine. He's saying that to a people, to a congregation, but he's also talking about that war that we have within ourselves. Right. One with ourselves, belonging to ourselves. And how appropriate that all of this is in the backdrop of the 40-day fast that we just talked about, because the fasting is the ability to say, no. I'm going to control appetites. I'm going to control some of these things that can rage if we don't.
Yeah. Or I'm going to add to areas that are lacking. Right. I like that. I love the idea of confidence, Brian. And I mean, my question would be, because it makes all the difference, right? In a lot of different scenarios, whether it's socially, professionally, just with yourself, right? I love that idea, Brian. You say, well, you kind of got to be able to sit with yourself and kind of work through some things. But what is what does it look like? What is building confidence? How do you build confidence?
Yeah, I think it starts with just letting some mindsets go. And I think some of the big ones are the fear that oftentimes comes with things, because I think we build confidence. The only place that confidence is either gathered or grown is out of a comfort zone. And we've talked about comfort zones a lot, I feel like when I've been on, but I think that's what we have to do. So whatever fear is keeping us out of comfort zone, whatever habits that we've formed for ourselves in our daily lives that just keep us, that aren't necessarily contributing to anything, us growing in any way, those kinds of things really stop us from going anywhere. A quote that I found from Marie Curie. She says, "Life is not easy for any of us, but what of that? We must have perseverance and above all confidence in ourselves. We must believe that we are gifted for something and that this thing must be attained." I think that's big. So I think it's just us realizing that we have a part to play in life. None of us are just side characters. We are all main characters in this
We're
journey
all
of
extraordinary,
life.
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think once we realize that in ourselves, we start to go, I have a role to play, and it may not be the same role as this person or that person, but I have something to do here. Like I'm thinking of the phrase, and I'll go where you want me to go, where I may labor for through life's short day for Jesus the crucified. And that labor may be something small. That labor starts within the walls of our own home. That labor starts with the interactions that we have with the people around us. So I think building confidence just starts from a place of wanting to be aware of what I do, what I say, what I think.
I like
and
that.
Then adjusting that to try to get to, and again, this is something that we've talked about before. Sometimes we're just wrong, and the battle isn't between living my beliefs, but making my beliefs as close to the truth as possible. I think that is a huge thing, and just being able to be open to that. And I think when we close ourselves down, that's when we can start to second guess and start to feel the overwhelm, start to feel the monotony, start to feel all those different things.
Yeah.
Where if we were open and saying, I want to have different experiences, that's when we start to have confidence, right?
I like that. I feel like for me, I think identity is tied into that right in there, that idea of confidence. Mike, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh man, these are internal scripts.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that idea, if I woke up every morning, looked myself in the mirror and said, I have a role to play, versus I look in the mirror and I think, oh my goodness, everybody's going to make fun of me because of what happened yesterday. Like whatever is the thing that is running between our ears. I actually, so Brian and I had an opportunity to hang out with the youth on last Sunday night, had a Q&A fireside with the stake presidency. And one of the questions was, and it kind of goes to the confidence. If you tie faith and testimony into this idea of spiritual confidence, one of the questions was, how are you building your testimony? We kind of ran out of time and I didn't get a chance to answer. So by golly, I'm going to answer it right here, right now. I love this idea that the scriptures use. They use the words confidence wax strong.
Yeah.
And just that idea of waxing over time, right? Like this, and I think I've used this analogy before. I was a historical docent. We'd help people make candles, literally a stick, a string, and you just dipping the string into hot wax. The wax cools, and over time, you're building a candle. I think of us building our own confidence in ourselves, our own confidence in our identity, confidence in who God is, who God knows us to be. All of those things are done over time. So it's almost like zoom out, perspective, long range, right? You're going to have ups and downs on the daily, but over decades, and I know if our audience is 16, 17-year-olds, there's no way I'd say that because they don't know they don't understand the concept of decades. But let me tell you, after I've got a couple under my belt, looking back, decades are powerful. And and some of it too is like, you stop caring about what other people think.
Yeah, that's the function
that's
the freedom of getting some years behind you.
There's a huge piece in that. As you get older, you start to realize that really it's not about what other people think. It's what does God think about me? What do I think? What do I think about myself? And I think that all of those things are going to come with time. I don't want to say, the only way to get confident is to become, 48, 49 years old. That's not the answer.
It worked for me though. It was,
but check your scripts.
Yeah.
Right?
I think there's like an inventory. I feel like, and I don't want to like, I bang this drum all the time about remembering things and having an inventory. Like I always think about that Jacob 7 when he talks about unshakable, his faith was unshakable. Before he says that, he kind of goes through this list of events of things that have happened, right? It's like this inventory of significance. And I think that if we, it's easy to fall into the trap of sort of picking yourself apart, right? We're our own worst critics. I shouldn't have said that. I should have said this. I shouldn't have done that. I wish I, wore this, or the list goes on and on and on. But if we were to actually sit and go,
should is the enemy.
It should. Yeah. And if we would actually sit and go, hey, this thing happened and this thing happened and this experience was good and this experience, I think that honestly, I tell myself that all the time. Like I'm going into a tough spot. I'm like, all right, remember you've done this 50 times, right? Or 500 times. And good things have come when you've been bold and when you've had these kind of conversations. And so, yeah, I think there's an inventory that we have to keep,
Well, and the pie, I think you got to keep things in the proper proportion, right? So if I am reflecting, cool, spend 5 minutes reflecting on what happened, being accurate about it, not interjecting emotion and subjectivity, but like, what were the facts? This was said, this thing was done. 5 minutes on maybe what could have been better. And then 15 about like, okay, moving forward. If we get that wrong and it's 15 about what happened, now how can I move forward? Like, no, let's get that proportion right? Like because that's honestly the forward, because like if you were to take, I'm actually reading a graphic novel, gentlemen. I don't know if you've ever done, not a graphic novel. It's not a graphic novel, but it's
not graphic, but graphic.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not a graphic novel, but it's like graphic nonfiction, doing to done. It's by Mike Williams. And this idea, like draw an arc from 0 to 100, put the line on your age, and then can you point everything forward is the best version of yourself coming. Just that idea of like what's coming is going to be the best version of yourself. So let's not spend disproportionate amount of time talking about the things that went wrong yesterday or 5 years ago or 20. There's some people that are stuck. Something went wrong 20 years ago.
But you got to commit yourself to work, right? You have to commit yourself that like, I've had this conversation before and I'm like with people and I've said, like I have this feeling all the time, like I could be better. Like I could do some things differently and I could be better. And someone said to me one time, they were like, that thought scares me to death. Like it's just too overwhelming to think that I'm not where I need to be. Right. It's like that mind, just shift that mindset a little bit. Like it's not about where I'm not, it's about what the potential is. Right.
But I think, I think sometimes I even get in that trap in my life where I'm thinking, my 3-year-old shouldn't be acting like a 3-year-old. That's a me problem. That's a me having unrealistic expectations for what a 3-year-old should be doing, especially when he's potty training and things like that. Like he's being a 3-year-old. That's like what he is, right? And so I think sometimes we think, especially when we start to bring the comparison game into things. When I look at Mike and a Tyler and I go, whoa, I'm not there. Well, it's because I'm not there. You know what I mean? And that's it. That is the case. Like we are all in a certain place in our lives. and we need to be able to have some grace for ourselves to go, oh yeah, I'm where I should be. Do I have things to work on? Absolutely. But I think sometimes that self-criticism gets so loud that everything feels like an attack sometimes.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
when we get that script and it's running the negative over and over and over again, that shoots our confidence. That takes us back to our comfort zones. That takes us back to a place where we're not growing, we're not changing. A little bit ago, Mike was talking about oh man, now I lost it. It made me think of another Brenéism, but it was what other people think of you. What, like, eventually you just got to stop caring. And one of Brené's Brenéism that I love is cool is an emotional straitjacket. And she says that because so much of the time, cool is what are people going to think about me? I want to look cool. I want people to think I'm cool. And that's going to take me out of an authentic place. And I'm going to start doing the fitting in things and not the confident belonging things, the authentic things, the things that are real. And that stops us from moving.
I think that there's a lot of value in these kind of conversations, right? Because if I can sit down and hear Brian and Mike and their journey and where they're at and what they're pouring into themselves and what what people are pouring into them, it sort of helps me identify, some of the good things that I'm doing and some of the things that I could be doing better, which I love. Right. And I think I think it's hard when we're in our own head, right? It's hard to kind of recognize the steps that you've made, because I think the default is the comparison, right? Where we just start to look at other people and say, well, they've done it, they're doing it, I'm not. And so therefore,
okay, I want to throw a highlight on that idea of doing the work.
Yeah.
And that verb do, right? Elder Dieter Uchtdorf shared a talk once. He actually shares a German quote. Our listeners,
are you going to say it in German?
Our listeners do not need to listen to Mike Freeman attempt to actually read the German, but in English,
okay,
there is nothing good unless you do it. Right. And I think so much of confidence comes from, Tyler, you said it, like when you're going into a hard spot, you can actually pull from the bag things you've done.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like that little win is going to set me up for a little bit bigger win. And maybe that loss or that mistake or that failure, like we've had people on the podcast that did something and failed miserably. And they said, I was liberated. 100%. Right. I was liberated because like, let's go. And I think this idea of, man, if we could just, when the chaos is going around us, number one, trust in the rock that you're built on. Yeah. I think that goes without saying.
Right.
Right. I mean, I think the confidence, if we are building with materials of truth in our life, our life's going to be in a place that can withstand some things that maybe we don't even know we can withstand. But just right now, if you were to look at the situation and say, what can I do right now? What can I do right now? Or maybe even reflect, what have I done that can set me up for the thing that I need to do? And as we do, win, lose, drop, good, bad, ugly, our confidence is going to grow, right? My boy is in Brazil and he's talking to people in Portuguese. He's only going to get better. His confidence in the language will only get better as he speaks in Portuguese, right? Mm-hmm. Like we've got to do the things in order to gain confidence, spiritual or otherwise.
You know what that makes me think of? I love those verses of Amulek, where he says, look, I haven't done everything right. And I haven't had a lot of experiences. Well, actually, right. And then he starts to recall all of these things and he's like, shoot, let me talk to you about some stuff. Right. And I think that idea of like, let's just take some inventory of where we're at, what we've done and what we want to accomplish. Right. I think there's I think that's the key. I love that.
Because right now, our listeners right now are on a dashed line, right? Yeah. Do, and there's growth. Don't do, talk about it, and there's nothing good until it's done. Yeah. Right. And so like I love this idea of drilling down into this concept of confidence, because I got a lot of different definitions of personal hell, but man, to lose that confidence,
Mike, and I think
that confidence, that's a spot.
Yeah. And I think, it's not even, I think doing and accomplishing the thing that you're trying to do aren't necessarily the same thing. Right. It's just doing.
It's in the doing.
Right. We were having a conversation before we came live on the show tonight. And you said something about like, we've always been kind of just dive in, fall on our face, get up, dust ourselves off, and we've kind of figured it out. But that's sort of the beautiful thing where we gain some confidence. It's not necessarily the end result. It's just the fact that you take the steps and you start to do.
When sometimes you just got to say basta, right? Sometimes, sorry, that's Spanish for enough. Sometimes you just got to say enough. Let's stop talking.
Yeah.
And let's do something, anything. What can I do to use my right? We are to act and not be acted upon.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the act?
That whole done is better than perfect. There's so many perfect ideas or perfect thoughts and ideas that we have that never that just get left because we think about it so much and we don't see any progress with it. And so we go, oh, this actually must not be a good thing. You brought a scriptural account of Amulek. I thought of Moroni, and he is talking, one of the famous verses from the Book of Mormon, Ether 12:27. A little context around that scripture is Moroni is also talking about, I wish I could speak these things because my writing's awkward, my hands are awkward. Like I don't feel like I can speak with the same power that I have when I'm actually standing in front of a group. And at this time, he's alone. He's by himself. He doesn't have that opportunity to do the thing that he knows he's good at. And so he is given the verse that we're very familiar with. And if men come unto me, I will show unto them their weakness. I give unto men weakness that they may be humble. My grace is sufficient for all men that humble themselves before me. For if they humble themselves before me and have faith in me, then I will make weak things become strong unto them. And this is what Moroni's reaction is to that. He brings this concern to the Lord. He's bearing his soul saying, I can't do this. This is a hard thing. He's given that counsel, and this is his reaction. He says, and I, Moroni, having heard these words, was comforted and said, O Lord, thy righteous will be done. For I know that thou workest unto the children of men according to their faith. So he took that whole thing. He took that whole opportunity, that whole thing that he may have been beating himself up about, that whole thing he did not feel confident in, and allowed that counsel. He first was able to vocalize that, saying, hey, I think I need this. I think I need to be better in this area. And that's a huge first step. I think that is number one in the awareness, that awareness category. We have to be aware of the things that we need to be working on, and then being able to seek the help and then receive the comfort to go, I can do this. I think that's a huge thing. I think when I was growing up, and you're standing up in front of a congregation and you're supposed to deliver a talk, that's a daunting thing at that point. But once you do it and you realize you didn't die from it, nobody's laughing at you, making fun of you, like you got through it, you go, oh, this is something I can do now. This is something, you have that confidence built at that point. And so if we seek those opportunities, if we go out and try new things, and I think that's really hard because as adults, we get into these routines, and that, like, when's the last time you went and tried a new activity or tried to learn something new or different? We oftentimes don't do that because we settle into ruts and not grooves, right?
Oh man, I just tried a new wing place in town.
Was it wing spot?
Yeah.
Up on Lake?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's killer. Hey, I think that I'm not going to let you get away from Ether 12 without reading verse 4. Can you just read verse 4? Has nothing to do with what we're talking about. I just think it's some of the most beautiful stuff ever written.
Wherefore, whoso believeth in God might with surety hope for a better world, yea, even a place at the right hand of God, which hope cometh of faith, maketh an anchor to the souls of men, which would make them sure and steadfast, always abound in good works, being led to glorify God. And if there is a symbol for confidence, wouldn't an anchor kind of be a pretty perfect visual symbol of confidence?
Yeah, like as a husband, as a father, my fear would be to be moved out of my place, that the forces around me are such that they move me from my place. I actually have this nightmare that I come home. Tyler, you can edit this, whatever. But every once in a while, I have this nightmare that I come home and I'm going to click on the garage door clicker, and it doesn't open. And this is my house, but like I'm not allowed in, and I've been moved out of my place and somebody else is in my place, right? Just that idea of like, as a husband, as a father, what am I doing every day to put down an anchor that I'm here? Kids, I'm here. Kelly, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. I think that there's something powerful about that, but I mean, it's not big. Somewhere in this, we've got to talk process. You read Ether 12:27 and someone comes up and says, Tyler, you're really good at this thing. You don't understand that there's a process to getting like that. That maybe, just maybe, the thing that you think, wow, Tyler's really good or Brian's really good at this thing, he wasn't at one time.
Well, it goes back to that idea of doing, right? I mean, that's how you get there. It's the confidence just to try, right? To do a little. And we build on that. And that's what this whole thing is all about. Like, confidence is not born overnight. You know, we don't wake up and go, shoot, I can conquer the world. Now, that happens sometimes. You go, I can do this, and you walk out and you're like, never mind, I can't, right? Because I see the bigger picture and it's hard. But we take that one step, we build on that. And
I think it's interesting that we end every episode with this question: what does it look like to be the richest man? We never ask what it isn't.
Right.
It's not quick.
Yeah.
It's not easy. It's not convenient, right? It's not microwave. This is slow cook. We're smoking for 12 hours, right? That brisket, it's going to take some time to get the thing the way we want it to be, to live this rich life.
Well, you talk about, you said earlier, I'm not saying that you have to be 48 to be confident, but the reality is, the further you go down the road, if you're doing and you're intentional and you're thinking about what you want to become, then yeah, that does make a difference, right?
Let me give a short.
My idea of 20, what it looked like at 20 versus what it looks like today, are not even in the same planet, man. It's like two different worlds altogether.
But let's look at 20-year-old you too, and say there's things that 20-year-old you was confident in, that you are not confident in now. Skateboard, get on a skateboard,
taking my shirt off at the beach,
right?
It's like
there you go. There you go. So I think the value is also being able to look and say, hey, I have gotten to confident places in certain areas of my life. There's certain things that I'm confident in. Like, this opportunity to sit down and talk with you is daunting, like, for a lot of people. I don't know what I'm going to say. Many of your guests come on saying, I don't really know why you asked me to come on here. I don't know what I'm going to say. And they lack a little bit of that confidence, but you guys draw it out of them. And a lot of the time, by the end of an episode, when I'm listening, those people are saying things with a lot of confidence.
But you know why? We've spent 2 hours talking to them about what they've done.
100%.
Yeah.
Right. It's about what they've done. Here's a hack, right? And I just said it's not easy. It's not a shortcut. Here is a hack.
Here's a shortcut. Let's go.
Here's a shortcut. If you are in a place where you don't have confidence, can you identify people that do have confidence in you and check in with them every once in a while?
That's what I'm saying. Like these conversations, right?
Yeah, that idea of borrowing, like, hey, you believe in me and I don't have the belief in myself. Can I borrow yours?
Yeah.
That's a powerful thing. And I think we've all benefited from people that have come up and said, hey, young buck, let me tell you what I think you can do.
Yeah.
And it 100%. Blows my mind. I just had a conversation with Dave Speck, Tyler. Dave Speck, great friend of the program, great guy. I'm having a conversation with him and he's saying, hey, why don't you? And I was like, whoa, that's a kind of a crazy thing. And he literally was like, no, what are you talking about? You guys are a big deal. Why don't you get so-and-so on the show?
Yeah.
And it was a moonshot, brethren, a moonshot. So Dave Speck, thank you for the belief that moonshot guest invitation might just stick because, he put some confidence in me that I didn't have.
Dave Speck, make that happen for us, would you?
Dave Speck does that. And I don't know if you remember, but Dave Speck was on the program. We were talking about, he's written books. It's like, man, I got some books in my head. And he's like, I give you permission to write that book, Mike Freeman.
He did give permission. And
hey, permission granted was the name of the episode.
That reminds me of somebody. I was looking on a social media channel and I saw a video, and there's this thing called like, what's your dinner party conversation starter? What's your dinner party question? And this person said, okay, you are stuck in a time loop, Groundhog's Day type thing. What are you going to do with what do you want to do in that day? And he says, whatever you answer kind of reveals a lot about kind of what you think about. And it's kind of that idea to me, like, what would you do if there weren't like all these consequences, all the things you build up in your mind? What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? What would you do if you knew that whatever you set out on was going to be successful?
That's what we just asked Chris Murnos that question, right? And he's like, I would be a bass guitarist for a rock and roll band, dude.
And so then asked him what band that was. Rush? I don't know. Come on.
And then we can go, so why are you giving up on yourself? Why aren't you doing that thing? Why aren't you giving yourself? Why don't you believe you can do it? Why don't you believe those things? And then you go, gosh, dang it. I can do it. And I'll show you that I will, And so I think so much of the time, those negative things stop us from doing great things.
Yeah. And Mike, just real quick, I just want to capitalize on something that Brian just said. I think it's okay. It is okay to find yourself in a spot where you're lacking confidence, right? That's okay. But I love that idea of, wait a second, gosh darn it, I can do this, right? Like, there's that, we kind of put the spurs on and kick ourselves, right? And push on to the next thing. But it's okay to recognize and have that feeling like, I don't think I can do this. But hey, borrow our confidence, right?
Yeah, but let's be wisdom in order in all things, right? Like, because tomorrow morning, I can't wake up and go run a marathon. But I can run a marathon.
Yeah.
And I can develop a plan. I can build up to do these hard things. And I think, to your point, Brian, so many times I think the great thing that we would do if we couldn't fail is a great thing that doesn't have any baby steps leading up to it.
Yeah.
Right. And so we're not intentional about identifying what those steps are. We just see the great thing. And we're like, whoa, I am not there. So therefore it's not possible. It is possible if we break this thing down into like, okay, well, what would it look like? What's something I can do tomorrow that would get me on a path to, over time, prepare me to do that great thing?
But I think looking for that thing is a really important thing. Actually, I know a brother and sister-in-law of mine that took some advice that you had given them at some point when they were young in their marriage. This was probably a decade ago, to write down the things that you want, like, what do you want your life to look like in 10 years? And they did. And, I've had some conversations, and, sometimes I I vent about things in my life and things like that. And that's my brother-in-law, Kyle Hastings, brought up. He's all like, hey, have you ever written out like very specifically like what you want your life to look like in 5-10 years? And he said, because we did that a decade ago, and I thought some of the things I wrote down were a little ridiculous. And right now we only have 2 things left on the list.
Bass guitar player in a band. Okay, so listen, I love that idea, by the way. We could talk all night, right? That's the thing with I love these conversations, but here we are, we've been going for a while, so let's do this. What's the one thing, Brian, that's gonna help create confidence?
Dream big.
Dream big. I love that.
Because I think you dream big because that's the direction where you want to go. And then you start to break it down to, actually, one of the things I love about Atomic Habits, you kind of frame it like this. I want to be the type of person who blanks. I want to be the type of person who is a bass guitarist in a band.
Yeah.
A person who is a bass guitarist in a band would do this, this, and this.
I'm all about that, man. I live
that. You know
that.
what I mean?
Yeah, that's my jam, dude. I love it.
Then you get those things, you go, okay, so I would buy a bass guitar. I would practice for an hour a day. I would get this, I would take this course to get me caught up on things. So you start to see, you have to have the direction. That's sometimes where I struggle, because I'm like, oh, this looks good. Oh, that looks great. This looks good.
Right.
Or I'll take one step and be like, oh, this is hard. Let's find a new dopamine hit from some other dream that I have.
I'll play the tambourine in a band, for crying out loud.
Yeah, I'll take it. But yeah, I think dream big is a huge start to confidence.
I love that.
The person you want to be.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, fantastic. Mike, what's the one thing, man?
Oof. So whole lot coming at our listeners tonight. I do appreciate this boiling things down. I am kind of I've been mindful of this idea of roles, and I love this idea of what underlying scripts do I want in the roles of my life. So I can literally take an activity. What I love hanging out with Brian is a lot of times he'll be like, and one time I just took out a piece of paper and I did this thing, right? I love the idea of taking out a piece of paper and saying, okay, here are the roles, get them out on paper, right? Maybe there's 6 roles, maybe there's 10 roles. Like these are the things that these are the roles that I'm playing in my life. And what is the script that I want running about that role?
I love that. Yeah. I love that a lot. Yeah. Kind of taps into what Chris talked about in our last episode.
And that's kind of the mashup. That's kind of the mashup. But I can see myself doing that activity where it comes down to like, okay, as a father, what's the script?
Yeah.
Like I will be there for my children. Boom. Okay. I will be there for my children. Right. And just run that script. And by that, it might mean being real and purging what might currently be running between my ears regarding that role.
Yeah, I think I love the idea of just the inventory of what that script looks like, right? Mm-hmm. And we're editing and we're adjusting. I love it. Yeah.
Tyler,
I think the 40 day stuff, that is also going to be tied to like, doing some good work. All right, Tyler Goold, take your own medicine.
Yeah, shoot. I was hoping to just kind of skate by with yours, but you know what? I think the one thing for me is I love Brian's idea of dream big, but then find that one step that you can take, right? Just that one step. Because if we're willing to do a little and we can find some success in that little thing, we can push on to the next. And, you weren't a bass guitar player in a rock band overnight, right? You got to do it step by step. So I think find that big goal and find that one step and get some confidence in that one small step and build on it.
And be patient with ourselves.
Be patient, 100%. Delete the timelines, right? You got to get rid of those things. Just it's a journey. Hey, this has been awesome, man. I am confident that I've learned something tonight, man. I've got a lot of notes. some things I want to do.
You know, let's throw this out there, right? Brian, like we love our time together with you. Like, I think that as we think about what season 6 is going to hold for our listeners, there's going to be some exciting times coming with you on the program in a regular format. So again, thank you for the time. I love this concept of you coming in and and I really like the thought of like, let's get this thing down to one.
Yeah.
Right. Let's get this thing down to one. That feels doable. Somebody's listening right now, like, whoa, confidence is something I'm struggling with. What can I do? What's one thing I can do?
So we've kind of hashed out some stuff. We've had some really good topics tonight, but there'll be some accountability, fellas, with this 40-day fast, right? So we've made some commitments to each other. We're going to give it a whirl and see.
Are we good with the Foursquare, right? We're good with the four.
I'm on board with that. 100%.
Okay, cool. So 40, start with a fast, identify what we're going to be working on: physical, social, emotional, and intellectual. Yeah. And we're going to be focusing on those 4 things. That feels powerful.
Yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what this brings us if we make 40 days.
So are you gonna drop specifically what you're working on? Are we going that vulnerable and open about the things specific that we're working on? Or is it just, hey, how are you doing with your things?
Brian, I'm going to put mine on wax and I'm going to give it to you. Okay.
Great.
I'm going to email you guys my what I'm working on.
Whoa.
And, yeah. And you can tell me how crazy I am.
I can't let you play like that and me not match you. So yeah, man. Cool. There might be some code words.
That's okay. I like it. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna put mine down. Give me, after this Sunday, we'll start with our fast, and then I'll send you guys my stuff, and we can kind of we can compare
right when this episode drops.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Hey, I love it, you guys. This has been so much fun. I'm excited about what's upcoming. Everybody that's listening, to our friends in London, I know you're out there. You've been tuning in. I hope that you have confidence that we can bring something to the table. You'll come back next week, right? So,
hey, and Tyler, we can do anything for 40 days, right?
We can do anything for 40 days.
Bite size, 40 days. We got this.
Yeah. We can do anything. Shout out to Bob Carlson for that lesson.
I mean, it's a little rough that we're doing right at the beginning of the NFL season. That's a little rough that we're springing it right now. So
that's true. Yeah, this is kind of where I like to settle into wings and pizza for
hey, I just ran out of Pepsi, so I can tell you right now what my physical might be.
I love it, you guys. We'll be talking soon. Thanks again, Brian. I'm looking forward to the next time, man.
Me too. Yeah. Thank you guys so much again for just inviting me, for letting me in. It's getting pretty comfortable in here in the RMIT little 3-grid we got going on.
Yeah, you got a key now, so just welcome to the studio, man.
And come on back better, you know what I mean?
That's
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right, good night, you guys.
Good night.
My big brother George, the richest man in town.